All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakabadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the Akim and to the elect that are scattered throughout the four corners of this earth, pushing this truth and faith and in all sincerity. Honor brother Shamala from the GMS Houston camp. And this is going to be another Stoic lesson, okay, to where I'm, explaining the quote, right, breaking down the quote, and then going back to the scriptures, right, which is above all, right, which all wisdom comes from, okay. So basically, just breaking down these Stoic quotes, all right, mainly by, Marcus Aurelius, for now, and, going into the meaning of it, how to apply it, things of that nature, right? Because, Stoicism, is really just a mindset, okay? Primarily, you know, and how you view things and how you look at things and how you react to things, right? And all of these things, start from, within the mind, all right? And this lesson is going to be going into, how that, a lot of people, think that, happiness, all right, comes from materialistic things, comes from what you own, what car you have, what house you live in, the clothes that you have, the jewelry, the women, whatever the case may be. All right. Which these things, definitely add, value, right, to your life. Okay. But just like Yahweh Shai said, what the abundance of man's life consisted of not the abundance of what he possessed. Roughly paraphrasing, that scripture. So your life, right, is not measured by those things. Like I said, it adds value and makes, things easier. Okay. Like scripture say, money is a defense. Okay. But that's not happiness though. All right. And really it all just it stems from your mind and how you are viewing certain things. All right. Because you may think that, because I don't have this, then I ain't really doing nothing, or something is wrong. Why does something has to be wrong? That's the thing. You gotta correct these thoughts that will creep into your mind to try to throw you off. That's all Satan wants to do, throw you off. And then you start believing these things and harping on these things, and now you're feeling negative. Because if you have a toxic mindset, right, your life is going to be toxic. Okay. And you're going to place that toxic viewpoint on everything, right, that you are involved with, even if things are okay, even if things are good. But the battle in your mind, you are losing. Okay. It's a whole fight going on within your mind, that's making you look at things and perceive things a certain way. That's why you read this quote right here by Marcus Aurelius. It says, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. You want to have quality thoughts. Okay. Now, like I said, when you're going into happiness, it's not talking about, enjoying the pleasures of this life, because that will just be a definition of Epicurean, which is opposite of a Stoic, right? But you are able to decide what happiness is based off of your mind, right, and what you are thinking. All right. That's what you have to control. Now, when you go to Proverbs 20:37, which, like I said, this scripture will get brought up a lot, right, in a lot of these lessons because it's all a mindset thing. When you're dealing with stoicism, it's all a mindset thing. All of these things start from the mind, right? And how you receiving, perceiving events and things that is happening right within your life and how you're looking at things. Okay. But Proverbs 23:7, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Okay. So what you are thinking in your mind, right, manifests in your life, right? Because like it says, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, right? And like I said, like your external situation, right, does not determine your happiness. It should not. Okay. It should not, determine, okay, how you feel. Okay, to whether it puts you in a bad mood or a good mood. You should already have a solid mind no matter what. Okay. And it's just the way that you, like I said, the way that you view things, your interpretation of it in your mind. Okay. Because if your thoughts, right, or calm, you know, um, discipline, all of these good things, right? It will show in your life. All right, you positive a lot, but if you're a person like you thinking negative all the time, you're bitter, you're jealous, right? You can make things a little more worse for yourself than than what's actually going on. Right. It's not saying you gotta feel good in bad situations that is going on. No, it's going to affect you. All right. But you have the power over your mind through prayer, right? Through Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, of course. Okay, because it is all up to him at the end of the day. All right. On you have that power of how you're gonna react to this and how you will let it make you feel. All right, because this is just an outside event. Okay. This is nothing that's happening internal. So you can control that. Okay. So another verse, Philippians 4:8. And now, dear brothers and sisters, this is the NLT. One final thing, fix your thoughts on what is true, honorable, and right, pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise, right? So these are the things that you should be thinking about. When you're going through things, think about the kingdom of heaven. Think about why we're doing this. Think about the reward that we're going to get. All right. Think about Yahweh Shai. All right. Think about, the comfort scriptures, Think about these things. Think about how the scripture said we got the victory already. The Lord is not going to put nothing on us, right, that we cannot handle. You got to think about these things. All right. You can't dwell on the negativity. All right. You can't be defeated. You can't let external things defeat you internally. All right. Let's get this. All right. Last scripture, Sirach 30:21. Give not over thy mind to heaviness, and afflict not thyself in thine own counsel. So it says, give not thy mind over to heaviness, right? Because you will have certain thoughts creep into your mind when you're going through certain things. You have certain negative thoughts. All right. You may have thoughts of insecurity sometimes. All right. You may get bitter, but you gotta correct these things. Because we're in the flesh, we're not going to be perfect. We're not going to have the perfect mind. All right. But you combat these things, with the spirit. When it says, give not thy mind over to heaviness, giving your mind over, basically submitting to those thoughts. Okay. You may be failing at something. You may not be that good at something. All right. And mind, something creep up into your mind. Oh man, I ain't gonna never be good at this. You know, I ain't nothing, I'm worthless. Right. And you basically letting those thoughts dominate, right? Inwardly. And that's gonna show. All right. It says, and afflict not thyself in thy own counsel. Right. So this is the, internal conflict that you may be having with yourself, the conversation that you may be having in your mind, beating yourself down. And these things can create spiritual paralysis. And what is spiritual paralysis? All right. Meaning you're not doing anything in the spirit, you're not to upgrade, to feed in the spirit, fellowship and doing videos, you know, and just doing all of the righteous things, that we're supposed to be doing. Instead of doing those things, you stuck, right? Because you letting the negativity reign in your mind. Now you're paralyzed spiritually. And ask me how I know. You see, hey, these things happen, but you gotta combat these things, man. All right. You got to combat this with with the scriptures, all right, with the truth. When you are thinking a certain thing, all right, you gotta ask yourself, and have a spiritual, eye, right, in these things. When a thought comes into your mind, you gotta ask yourself, like, what is going on? What exactly am I telling myself right now? Right? Is this true? Right? Or am I acting out of pride? Right? Am I acting out of insecurity? Is it just because of fear? Right? Is it strife? Is it like what is it? Is it jealousy? All right. You gotta actually examine the thought. Okay. And you gotta, replace it with the actual truth. Okay. Just say in a certain event, somebody might, disrespect you, right? You may have a thought that say, well, I need to prove myself, let this motherfucker know, right? That I ain't no little bitch. Okay. That thought might come into your mind. That's the flesh right there. But you got to analyze that and like, what is going on right here? Okay, what am I telling myself? Why do I feel like I need to prove myself? What do the scriptures say about this? Right, Proverbs 16:32. He that ruleth his spirit is better than he that taketh the city. Boom. Then that will change, the whole outlook of the situation. You didn't submit to that thought, right? You use scripture to combat that, right? And possibly, avoid, a bad situation. All right. And now just closing, if you don't, right? If you don't discipline your thoughts, right? You don't have control over these things, right? The world gonna do it for you, bro. All right. The thing that you see on social media, right, on the news, all right, the people right, fear, all of these things, right, will shape it for you if you don't have a guard on your mind, right? As the scriptures say in Proverbs 23:7. If you don't guard it, right, you just open to whatever. And that's a dangerous place to be in. Because in this truth, bro, as we get close to the end, bro, it's gonna be a lot of things, a lot of words that people may call us, a lot of slandering, a lot of persecution. You're gonna have to have a strong mind. All right. There are a lot of unbelievers right now. You can't listen to what they saying. Already have this truth solidified in your mind that this is what it is, and have that solid belief, have that solid, foundation, right? And don't let the negativities of this life, the things what you may be going through, affect you mentally, right? To where it's spiritually decapitating you. Okay. So I hope that was the lesson. With that, I'm gonna say shalom.